Forget the stars. Today we're talking underdog, term game changers. Who's stepping out of the shadows for Iowa football this season?
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, your daily podcast on all things Iowa football, Iowa basketball, and a whole lot more. Glad to have you aboard with us here today. I've been covering the Hawkeyes for over 20 years on the radio, including currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network. And you can hear me each weekday from noon to 2 talking the world of sports and a lot of Hawkeyes on stations in Des Moines, Sioux City, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, and the Quad Cities, the Iowa Sports Radio Network. Today, we're going to take a look at the Locked On Top 100, including 2 Hawkeyes that cracked the top 100 players in college football, and maybe some snubs that were also coming their way. We're also going to be joined by Eliot Clough from 24/7 Sports, HawkeyeInsider.com. Eliot is going to join us, and we're going to talk about the latest rumblings that he's hearing coming out of Iowa football camp. But speaking of Iowa football, our conversation begins today not with the star players, not the guys that we've gone in depth with for the last 2, 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. No, not those guys, not the Mark Gronowskis of the world, not even the Kamari Moultons of the world. We're going to be talking about that next group of guys, some surprise guys that I believe have a chance to be breakout. These are the players that have not had the same kind of conversation, depth of conversation that we've had over the course of the season. I have 4 different players for you I believe have potential to have a huge breakout year, guys that we haven't talked a ton about here throughout the discourse going back to spring football and where we are today. I want to open up this conversation with a guy that every day, as you know, I have been a big fan of for a long time, and that is defensive end Brian Allen. Now, Brian Allen, we have seen in spurts, and a few of those spurts have come during open practices. You go back to the last 2 August Open Kids Day practices, Brian Allen in both of those was an absolute star. At times looked unblockable. You go back to spring football of 2024, same thing. He looked absolutely incredible. And the question with Brian Allen has never been about the ability to get to the quarterback. He definitely has that ability. He's shown that ability. He showed that ability last season on the field for Iowa as he had 3 sacks in a backup role. The question with Brian Allen is this going to be a guy that can become a full service defensive end? Look, to play at Iowa, any position, you got to be able to do everything. You have to be able to do the little things. And if you watch any defensive line drills, even before games for Iowa, they're doing the exact same things, right? Hand placement. Where are you going every single time? Where that first step is. All those different things that are very repetitive. I'm sure they're very monotonous as a player. But in the end, why Iowa has the success that they are, it's because they are so fundamentally sound. They are drilled so well in those kind of things. He had a sack against Illinois State. He had a sack against Troy last year. Brian Allen had a sack last year against Washington. But for him, it is about building and becoming a full-service defensive end. The size is definitely there now. He has built himself into a guy that can withstand and play 40, 50, 60 snaps a game. He is going to do that and has that kind of ability if need be. Now, this season, probably not going to be the case. With Ethan Hurkett on one side, Max Llewellyn on the other, you're feeling good about the shape and the way that Iowa's going to be at the defensive end position out of the starters. But you're still searching for that backup. And that's where Brian Allen can be that kind of guy. Came off surgery. That's why he wasn't with them during the spring. But Brian Allen, even in a reserve role, a third down type of role, I think he can be that guy that all of a sudden is talking about 6, 7 sacks this season. He can absolutely do that, and that would definitely be a breakout candidate. Let's jump over to the other side of the football offensively, and another breakout candidate, another guy that was banged up during the spring, and because of that, I think has kind of fallen out of favor, or at least fallen out of the conversation when it comes to Iowa football, and it's at the wide receiver spot with Jarriett Buie. Now, Jarriett Buie last season, we saw glimpses of him, right? Final game of the year against Missouri in the bowl game. He had 3 catches in that one. Had a couple of catches against Maryland. 9 catches last year, 94 yards. Not a ton, but at least looked it. Had a couple of drops in there. Obviously has to be better about that. Still a guy incredibly young, very raw, learning the position. He is a guy, though, that you look at upside-wise, maybe Jarriett Buie should be talked about more in that conversation as we've gone through, that group of wide receivers. After Jacob Gill, after Reese Vanderzee, who should be that guy? Jarriett Buie's kind of been the forgotten piece, and I think one that we need to throw back into the conversation. For my third candidate for breakout player this season, I want to go next to Sam Phillips. Now, Sam Phillips, when he committed to Iowa back in January, we talked about him a ton. A speedy wide receiver. He's little. Look, there's no way about it. And I think when you see him out there for the first time, either Friday at Media Day or Saturday at the open practice, you're going to see he looks really small because he is really short. As a short guy, I love him. I want him to succeed. Fred Russell is my dude. I want these short guys to succeed. However, it's different at wide receiver. But he has something, an element that Iowa has been sorely lacking here over the last half decade, and that is speed on the outside. He definitely has that. You can use that speed in a myriad of different ways. It's just not about getting behind the safeties, getting behind the defense for the big plays, but it can be across the middle. It can be in jet sweeps. And how Iowa finds Sam Phillips and finds a role that makes sense for him. Coming off of what he did at Chattanooga, after the kind of season that he had there, it's unrealistic, and certainly with what we believe is real depth at the position this year, that is going to look different. Your hope is that this guy is going to be somebody that helps out. He had 823 yards a year ago, and he missed 2 games. He set a freshman record a couple years back with 44 receptions. This is a player that has been able to do it, and now can he do it at the Big Ten level? I think that speed is real, and if the speed is real, you can absolutely make plays. Sam Phillips, my final breakout candidate at the wide receiver group. And then one more name. And maybe this isn't anything that I think falls kind of in the same realm of a breakout candidate. Just a guy to remember, a guy that we haven't talked about maybe enough. And it's in the backup spot at one of the guard spots, maybe at center. It's Michael Myslinski, who came in from Florida out of high school. He had an offer from Texas, another guy. Don't see Iowa beat out Texas very often for a recruit. He was a big-time recruit. And he has battled so many injuries throughout the course of his career. Finally, last year was as healthy as he's been during his career. And one of those senior stories. And that's not to say that he's going to unseat Cade Pieper or he's going to go out and beat Bo Stevens out for one of the starting guard positions. However, if there are injuries, somebody keep an eye on. Somebody that can come in there, and the feeling is inside that room, he can come in there and he's going to, though he lacks reps, he does not have the same kind of game experience that some other guys do. He is a guy that they believe is going to be able to help out in the interior of their offensive line, and he's going to be a player that we keep an eye out for coming up this season. So there you are, some breakout players. Let me know who you have for your surprise breakout players for Iowa football this season. Any names that we haven't talked about a ton, guys that we're missing, and there's a lot of them out there on this team. Hit us up on the comment section. You can find us on YouTube. In fact, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 5,000 before the season begins. Just takes a moment and helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. If you listen just on the podcast audio side, 5-star reviews, all of that helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. We continue the Iowa football conversation next. Eliot Clough is going to join us from 24/7 Sports, HawkeyeInsider.com. We'll get Eliot's thoughts on what he's hearing at Iowa football training camp. Some good nuggets coming up for you as we talk Iowa football. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. Ever wish managing your money felt easier with Monarch Money? It can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Just got off a vacation. We're already thinking about what we're going to do during Dead Week next year for summer vacation. That's what my family does every year. If you're serious about having that big one, how about setting a goal with Monarch Money? And as a small business owner, it's something that helps us out. We got money in different places, moving it around. Monarch Money helps me and my wife figure out and be on the same page with our finances. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. monarchmoney.com.
Eliot Clough covers the Hawkeyes for 24/7 Sports, HawkeyeInsider.com. Eliot joins us. Both of you guys, I'll ask this question because Bruce Feldman, I know it's not a 24/7 thing, but he comes out with this freaks list every year. Are you aware of this, first of all, Eliot, Bruce Feldman's freaks list at The Athletic?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so today he came out, and there are actually 3 Hawkeyes that made the all freaks list this year. Logan Jones, Cade Piper, and Preston Ries. I'm thinking to myself, okay, you got this wrong. There's no Hawkeye by the name of Preston Ries, but there is. And he's already a freak, and he's never played it down in college football. Is that what I'm led to believe?
Absolutely. He's breaking records over there, weightlifting.
So I want to ask you, Eliot, because you were covering recruiting at the time, one of your duties. Tell me about this kid. What has he done? And he's got Bruce Feldman's eye, and there's some players on this list. And Preston Ries, without even seeing the field, has come in at number 50 on the list. What do you know about him?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I've talked about him on this show, Ken.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah. Well, Preston, a kid from Monticello, part of that 2024 class, with Cam Buffington and Jarriett Buie. All 3 of those guys probably could have found a spot on that list. Weiskopf was a state champion two-time state champion in high jump, obviously state champion in football. Also placed in shot and disc his senior year at a state track meet. Cam Buffington, a kid from 8-man football, played some really good football. I mean, he'd be out there with kids that look like they're 12 standing next to him, and he's going to play at Big Ten football. But with Preston, I believe he just set the linebacker squat record at Iowa, not the freshman squat record, the linebacker squat record. So he's up there above Jack Campbell, Jay Higgins, Josie Jewell, Christian Welch, like name. So he's done some freaky stuff already. He's another kid that is right there with Weiskopf and Buffington as far as high school accomplishments. But he's one of those kids that he was also a Max Preps. He was the Max Preps Iowa Football Player of the Year his senior year too, and that's in the mix with Cam and Weiskopf, of course. But he's a guy that, from what I've heard from behind the scenes, he doesn't necessarily know a ton about what's going on right now with the Iowa defense because he's so young, right? It takes a little while to figure out. That's par for the course. But he's a guy that you put on the field and good things happen, right? Like he just finds a way to make a play where you're like, holy crap, how did Preston do that? So he's a guy that I had my eye on in that linebacker group of young guys that could possibly see the field this year with how many question marks are around that group. It would not surprise me if he, carves out a role either maybe at the Leo spot. He's definitely going to be playing on special teams. I can tell you that for sure. But again, a local kid that's been committed to play for the Hawks for a while, played quarterback in high school too. Dominated on both sides of the ball. He's a name to watch. And maybe it doesn't all come to fruition this year, but in the coming years, like he's going to be a part of that Iowa defense that people are going to know.
Of those 3 that you mentioned, of course, Preston Ries is getting the headlines today, but Cam Buffington and Weiskopf. Of those 3, is there one that they are targeting of the middle linebacker of the future? We know they're all kind of in the mix in a backup role because of the veterans, but if we look maybe 2 years down the line or even a year down the line, of those 3, is there one that they think is going to be able to fill that role at the middle spot?
Yeah, that'd be Cam. Okay. Cam is that classic thumper that you look for at that Mike spot. Did a little bit of everything for Mount Union out of high school. Played running back too. Just a little bit, thicker is usually what they shoot for that guy who plays that Mike spot and can be the quarterback of the defense. But yeah, Cam's that classic thumper that'll hit you and you stop moving. And that's kind of what they shoot for that Mike spot.
I want to ask you about Bryce Hawthorne. He's a guy that keeps coming up in conversations or in articles that I read. He's going to play on a position that, I read some accounts. I read one that Iowa's got the best eighth best defensive front in college football. I think I read that over the weekend. Hawthorne, what do we expect from him? A South Dakota State transfer.
Yep, redshirt sophomore coming over from Brookings along with Mark Gronowski. I've heard a lot of good things about Bryce so far. Obviously, we're going to learn more. We're going to get to know more over specifically this week and then for Kids Day, of course. But Bryce is a kid that I've heard a little bit about him being kind of a freak, whether it's in the weight room or on the field. One of those guys who's super twitchy, despite his size, standing at 300 plus pounds. He's a guy that'll fire off the ball. Might not start just for the sake of Jonah Pace being a guy who's a little bit older, been there, done that on a defensive line. But Bryce is definitely going to be a really solid part of that rotation on the defensive line, and a reason why the defensive line looks to have reloaded as opposed to scrapping for parts to fill that back end, especially at the defensive tackle spot. But I'm really high on Bryce. A lot of things that I've heard from behind the scenes are that he's definitely going to be impactful this fall.
Over to the cornerback spot, we know TJ Hall, after the spring he had, felt like he really wrapped up one of the spots over there, even as inconsistent as he's been throughout his career. You go out to South Dakota, you bring in Burrows. You got Deshaun Lee, who started, 12, 15 games in his career. Yet Jaylen Watson, anytime I talk to somebody, and I think it's the same thing for you, Elliot, his name continues to come up. Phil doesn't care about playing young guys. He's played young guys a whole lot. Could we see redshirt freshman Jaylen Watson be a starter sometime in the month of September?
Ooh, not going to rule it out. I'm definitely not going to rule it out. I've been high on Jaylen since he picked Iowa a couple years ago. But I would probably venture to guess that Deshaun Lee is going to be the guy who gets the start to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that continues throughout September, putting a timeline on it is what makes it hard. Jaylen, it would not shock me at all if he starts this season at any given point. But by September, that's a good question. I think Deshaun Lee will have had to struggle specifically against Iowa State for that to happen. Or, if Shaheed Barrows is among the better corners on the team through fall camp, maybe he locks down that position too. I definitely will not count out Jaylen Watson as to being a starter in September. That's a really good question. Maybe by the back end of September, like I said, I'm really high on him. He's a guy that, Trent, you and I were both there when Kirk mentioned him at Big Ten Media Days. And it's that's one to take note of, because Kirk won't go on a big long rant about a player, but if it's a guy who's up and coming and he makes a note of it, okay, all right, that's one to keep in the back of the brain. And his play on special teams last year definitely earned him some of that respect from Kirk. But it wouldn't shock me if it's by the end of September. But I would say probably more so by October, just based on timeline. Either way, I do think there's definitely a strong possibility he starts this season.
Elliot, you can't say left tackle. What's because seemingly is everybody's concern. What's your biggest concern when it comes to this roster?
I would probably say between that corner spot, that second corner spot, and the linebacker spot, and that's nothing particularly Mike linebacker. That's not necessarily something against Jaden Harrell when I mentioned that.
Right.
He did struggle against UCLA last year, but we just haven't seen him. Right. It's the same conversation we were having about Jay Higgins a few years ago. He was playing that, but we hadn't seen him play the Mike linebacker spot, arguably the most important position on the defensive side of the ball. And with Jaden, it's the same thing. He's been on special teams. He's been around. He's learned the defense. He's got the knowledge. Can he play at that uber high level? And maybe he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to be Jay Higgins. He doesn't have to be Jack Campbell. And I think expectations like that are unfair. But can he be a guy to lock down the Mike linebacker spot? Because I've heard a little bit about linebacker by committee this coming year, mentioning guys like Cam Buffington, mentioning guys like Jane Montgomery, Landon Van Keekricks, even at that will linebacker spot. And of course, like I mentioned, Buffington, Ries and Weiskopf. But to me, that would I don't know if concern is necessarily the right word, but a big question mark. right there at Mike linebacker. Otherwise, yeah, if I can't say left tackle, probably Mike linebacker or that CB2 spot.
Good stuff, Eliot Clough from 24/7 Sports, HawkeyeInsider.com. Eliot, thank you. We will reach out to you as early as next week, if that's okay with you. Appreciate the contribution, pal. Thank you.
Yep, that sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, good to talk to you. Eliot Clough as we check in on the Hawks.
Bruce Feldman with the Freaks List. Good talk on Preston Ries and the rest of that linebacker group of those redshirt freshmen and what they potentially could be pushing forward for Iowa football. Those are the potential future stars of Iowa football, but we got a pretty good group of them right now. Locked On, we have released our first ever top 100 list. We got a couple of Hawkeyes on the list. We're going to talk about that as we continue Locked On Hawkeyes. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. Looking back, my golf game, it's inconsistent, it's wild. There's some times that you need a little bit of luck. I snapped one off last week, just an absolute yank job, but you get a little lucky, right? There's something good on the course, and how about something good off the course with the 5-Hour Energy? Golf's all about the good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. If you go right now to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Hit subscribe again if you're watching us on YouTube, or a 5-star review on the podcast side as we come to you each and every day. And thank you again to you everydayers. Locked On Top 100. Now, I will tell you, as somebody, as all of us, compiled this list together, it's a difficult exercise. It really is. And putting together, figuring out with about 140 now teams at the FCS level, even if you say, you know what, I'm not going to do anything from the non-power group, even if you say, I'm only going to do it from the Power 2 group, the Big Ten and the SEC, even that is difficult to do, because how do you measure a offensive lineman, a center, against a quarterback? Look, we know quarterbacks. We know so many of the quarterbacks in the college game, and how do you measure that out? But we did the exercise, and it came, at least we got a couple of Hawkeyes into the mix. Now, I voted for both these guys in the top 100. If you're watching us on YouTube, you see the screen right now. Logan Jones, he comes in at number 82, the All-American center for the Hawkeyes. And then at number 98 is Gennings Dunker. So you get both the offensive linemen there for the Hawkeyes. Taking a look through the list, here is that list 91 through 100, where you see Gennings Dunker checking in at 98. And it's so interesting because he's sandwiched in between two top 100 players from the Big Ten, Darius Taylor, the fining running back for Minnesota, who I really like, and Dylan Raiola at number 99, the Nebraska quarterback. So we sandwich in between both of those two guys. And we take a look at the list that has Logan Jones that is involved in it. He comes in at number 82. He is between Eli Stowers, a guy that was on my list from Vanderbilt. He's at number 81. And then Bryce Bocher from Oregon. Josh Hoover's at 84. I had him a whole lot higher on my list. Haynes King's 89 on this list. Of this group of 10, I had him a whole lot higher. It is an incredibly difficult exercise to put this together. Also, if you're interested, here is the top 10 players in college football from our Locked On Top 100. Number 1, Jeremiah Smith, and we saw that a year ago against the Buckeyes. Number 2 on the list, Caleb Downs, also of Ohio State. Dylan Stewart, an absolute stud off the edge for South Carolina. Jeremiah Love, the running back for Notre Dame at number 4. Ryan Williams, who is no longer 17, the wide receiver from Alabama. Cade Klubnik at number 6. Anthony Hill, linebacker out of Texas at number 7. There's Garrett Nussmeier, way too high for my liking, at number 8. Colin Simmons of Texas at number 9. And then Keldrick Falk, defensive lineman from Auburn, at number 10. So that's how the list is comprised. We all put together, we have some 80, 90 podcasts overall on the college side of the Locked On Network. We all put our list together, and then it just spit this out. Good that we got a couple of Hawkeyes there with Logan Jones and with Jennings Dunker. The one missing piece, though, the Iowa quarterback, Mark Gronowski. In fact, we're going to talk about that on tomorrow's show. I think a swing and a miss, and I think college football is missing this. But I think those are both fair grades because, again, when you look at Logan Jones, when you look at Jennings Dunker, you look at both of these guys, they're offensive linemen. And it's hard to measure offensive linemen in a list like this. Just to be nominated, just to be in the top 100, I think shows you the potential of both of those guys and what they're going to be certainly coming up for this college football season. Again, tomorrow, we will take a look at the snubs, the guys that maybe should have been on the list for the Iowa Hawkeyes, including, I'm going to say it, the quarterback, Mark Gronowski. Gronowski should have been there. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. If you're in the recruiting side of things, the transfer portal, then you want to check out our podcast. It is called The Portal. You can find it wherever you find podcasts, also here on YouTube. The Portal, each and every day, talking all things recruiting, taking a look and be informed in the world of college football. We got The Portal. We got Locked On College Football. We got Locked On Big Ten. We got you covered as we count down to kickoff. August is here. Football season is here. And we got week 0 games that really matter for us, with Iowa State obviously facing off against K-State. Going to be a different week 0, certainly for us here, as we get ready for that matchup and get ready for Iowa State for the Hawkeyes in week number 2. Friday, Big Ten. Check that. Iowa Football Media Day. We'll have you covered from that. We will also have you covered from Kids Day on Saturday. Lots of content coming your way this week as we continue to ramp up to football season. And don't worry, we have not forgot about basketball. We got basketball conversation also coming up this week. We're going to take another look at the Iowa basketball team and some of the roster things that we're hearing. What's going on? Fool Garris is now back in town on the men's side of things. Of course, we have Hannah Stolke back on the women's side after both of them were involved with their national teams during the course of this summer, and getting them back, changing what we talk about with both of those squads. Your team every day. That's what we do here on the Locked On Network. I got you covered on the Hawkeye front, but that's not all. Mentioned the college football side of things and what we have going on, but there's a whole lot more. Your favorite NFL team, your favorite MLB team, maybe you're a Twins fan and you're fired up and upset like I am. We got you covered here on the network. Packers, Vikings, Bears, Chiefs, and a whole lot more. Every NFL team, every MLB team, NBA, NHL, all here under the Locked On umbrella. And I got you on the Hawkeye front. Hit that subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube. 5-star review on the other side. Shout out to your everydayers. Big thank you to all of you. We will talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, go Hawks.